There is a silence in every woman's heart that the world does not always hear. A silence that is not weakness, but strength. A silence that is not emptiness, but fullness of untold stories, hidden prayers, and unshakable faith. Many people think that walking alone is a curse, but sometimes walking alone is the greatest blessing. Because when a woman walks alone, she begins a silent journey with God. And when God walks beside her, she is never truly alone. Today, I want to share with you something very special, the silent journey of a woman alone. Not the journey of loneliness, but the journey of discovering inner strength, divine companionship, and the beauty of a soul that is guided by God. When a woman walks alone on her silent journey, one of the first and most profound lessons she learns is how to listen to her inner voice. We live in a world that is overflowing with noise. Voices from outside, opinions from society, expectations from family, and the endless chatter of the world around us. In this constant flood of noise, the most important voice is often lost, the voice that comes from within. And when a woman learns to embrace solitude, she begins to hear that voice clearly, like a soft melody playing in the background of her life, guiding her gently but surely. When a woman walks alone on her silent journey, one of the first and most profound lessons she learns is how to listen to her inner voice. We live in a world that is overflowing with noise, voices from outside, opinions from society, expectations from family, and the endless chatter of the world around us. In this constant flood of noise, the most important voice is often lost, the voice that comes from within. And when a woman learns to embrace solitude, she begins to hear that voice clearly, like a soft melody playing in the background of her life, guiding her gently but surely. Think about it. From the moment we wake up, we are surrounded by distractions. The phone beeps with messages, people call out for our attention, the responsibilities of life pull us in many directions. It becomes so easy to live a life dictated by outside demands that we forget to pause and ask ourselves, what does my heart truly want? What does my soul truly need? A woman on her silent journey has the courage to pause. She has the courage to be still. And in that stillness, she unlocks one of the most powerful treasures of life, the ability to listen to her own soul. This inner voice is not just random thoughts. It is a connection to something far greater than ourselves. When we quiet the noise outside, we hear the whispers of God within. Those whispers don't shout, they don't force, they simply guide. Have you ever noticed how sometimes before making a big decision, you feel an inner nudge? A small, almost unexplainable sense that tells you, this feels right, or this doesn't feel right. That is not just instinct. That is the divine voice within you, a compass placed by God to help you navigate life. A woman who embraces silence learns to trust that compass. Let me give you an example. Imagine a woman who has always been surrounded by people's opinions about her life. Society tells her she should marry at a certain age. Her family tells her she should take a certain job. Her friends tell her she should behave in a certain way. If she listens to all of them, she will be pulled in 10 different directions, and at the end of it all, she may feel lost and empty. But when she steps away from that noise and spends time alone, she begins to ask herself, what do I truly want? What path makes me feel alive? What choice aligns with my values? And in that moment of stillness, she hears her inner voice clearly. And that voice is often the one that leads her to peace and fulfillment. The power of listening within is that it helps her separate truth from illusion. The world may praise her for something temporary, but her soul whispers to her about what is eternal. The world may push her toward recognition and approval, but her inner voice tells her to seek meaning and authenticity. When she listens deeply, she realizes that she doesn't need to run after what everyone else has. She needs to honor what God has uniquely planted in her heart. That realization brings her freedom. Silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is the space where a woman discovers her true self. Think of how the night sky, though quiet and still, reveals the brilliance of millions of stars. In the same way, when she enters silence, her inner world lights up with clarity. She sees her fears, her strengths, her hopes, and her wounds more clearly. And because she sees them, she can heal them, she can strengthen them, and she can walk forward with a sense of direction. Many people are afraid of silence because they associate it with loneliness. But for a woman on this sacred journey, silence is not loneliness. It is companionship. It is companionship with herself, and it is companionship with God. When she sits quietly, she feels His presence more deeply than ever before. In the rush of life, we often miss God's signals, but in silence, His guidance becomes clearer. The inner voice is, in truth, God's way of speaking to the soul. When a woman learns to listen within, she also learns to respond to life with wisdom. Instead of reacting out of fear or pressure, she responds with clarity and calm. Let's say she faces a conflict at work. Instead of immediately reacting in anger or frustration, she takes a moment of silence, listens to her heart, and then responds with dignity. This not only protects her peace, but also earns respect from others. People may wonder, how does she stay so calm? The answer lies in her ability to listen to the quiet truth inside her, rather than the loud chaos outside her. Listening to her inner voice also helps her nurture self-trust. Many times women are made to doubt themselves, to question their worth, or to believe that others know better about their life. But on her silent journey, when she consistently hears her soul guiding her correctly, she begins to build trust in herself. She starts believing that her intuition is not foolish, but sacred. And once a woman trusts herself, no one can easily shake her confidence. Life's biggest answers are not always found in books or advice from others. They are found within. A woman who embraces her inner voice finds the courage to follow her own path, even if it means walking against the tide. She understands that true success is not what the world defines for her, but what her heart, aligned with God, calls her to pursue. She no longer lives to please the crowd, but to honor her soul, and that makes her journey not only powerful but also deeply peaceful. So, the first step in the silent journey of a woman alone is this sacred ability, the ability to listen within. In that silence, she meets herself. In that silence, she meets God. And once she learns to listen to that divine voice inside, she carries a guidance system more powerful than any map, more reliable than any opinion, and more comforting than any company. Alone, she is never truly alone, for the voice of God within her becomes her eternal companion. When a woman begins her silent journey, one of the greatest realizations she discovers is that strength is not measured by how many people stand beside her, but by how deeply she can stand when no one is around. The world often teaches us that power comes from numbers, how many friends we have, how much support surrounds us, how large a crowd applauds us. But the truth is, real strength is never about the outside. Real strength is about the depth of roots within. A tree does not stand tall because of how many other trees surround it. It stands tall because its roots go deep into the soil. In the same way, a woman walking alone learns that her strength comes not from the noise of a crowd, but from the depth of her connection with herself and with God. Think of those moments in life when everything feels like it is falling apart. Friends who once promised to stay suddenly disappear. Family, though loving, may not understand the depth of your struggle. The world, with all its business, barely notices the battles you fight quietly in your heart. In such times, it is easy to feel weak, abandoned, or invisible. But this is where the silent journey transforms a woman. She begins to see that true courage is not found when the world claps for her. It is found when she can wipe her own tears, stand up and say, "I will keep going." That strength is sacred because it is born from within. There are so many women in daily life who embody this truth quietly. The single mother who works tirelessly, not because anyone praises her, but because her children depend on her. The young student who studies late into the night, even though no one sees her effort, because she knows education is her ladder to a brighter future. The elderly woman who spends her evenings in prayer, carrying faith in her heart even when her days are lonely. These women may walk alone, but their strength is not small. It is vast because it is rooted in faith and inner resilience. Strength found in solitude is different from strength found in numbers. When we stand with a crowd, we often lean on others for courage. But when we stand alone, we lean on God. That leaning builds a faith so unshakable that no storm can destroy it. Imagine a mountain. The mountain does not move just because the wind blows fiercely against it. It stands calm and silent, not needing to prove its strength, because its very presence shows its power. A woman walking her silent journey becomes like that mountain. She learns that storms may come, winds may rage, but her strength is not dependent on external approval. Her strength is rooted in her silent faith, and that makes her unmovable. Sometimes the world misunderstands a woman's solitude. People may say she is weak because she has no one to support her. They may assume she is broken because she walks alone. But little do they know that solitude is not her weakness. It is her training ground. Just like a warrior sharpens her sword in quiet before stepping into battle, a woman sharpens her spirit in the quietness of her journey. By facing challenges without leaning on the crowd, she develops an inner power that is beyond ordinary. Think about how diamonds are formed. They are not created in comfort. They are born under intense pressure and in the deepest, darkest parts of the earth. Similarly, the strength of a woman on her silent journey is not shaped in ease, but in the quiet pressure of life's tests. Every challenge she faces alone makes her shine brighter. Every disappointment becomes her teacher. Every moment of silence becomes her strength. She may look like she is alone on the outside, but on the inside, she carries the resilience of 1,000 battles. What makes this strength so inspiring is that it doesn't need validation. She doesn't have to announce to the world, "Look how strong I am." Her actions, her calmness, her persistence speak louder than any words. A woman who learns to stand strong alone is the kind of woman who can inspire generations without even trying. Her children will see it, her community will feel it, and those who come after her will walk paths she silently paved. Daily life is full of small examples where this strength shows itself. It is in the woman who chooses not to give up when her business fails the first time. It is in the woman who decides to walk away from unhealthy relationships even though it means being alone for a while. It is in the woman who chooses self-respect over temporary acceptance. These silent choices reveal a strength that is not flashy, but it is real and it is enduring. The beauty of standing strong alone is that it creates independence of spirit. Such a woman does not live to be carried by others. she learns to carry herself. And when she does, she realizes something profound. She was never truly alone to begin with. In her silence, God was always there. In her quiet tears, God always listened. In her darkest nights, God's unseen hand always guided her. The realization that God is her constant companion fills her with a strength that no crowd, no applause, and no validation could ever give. So, strength is not in numbers. Strength is in depth. Strength is in the silent heart that chooses to keep going when the world does not notice. Strength is in the quiet prayers whispered at midnight. Strength is in the smile that appears even after tears. And above all, strength is in the trust that God is with her, even when no one else is. A woman on her silent journey becomes an unshakable mountain, not because of who stands beside her, but because of how firmly she stands within herself. A woman walking on her silent journey eventually discovers something that changes the way she looks at herself forever. She realizes that self-love is not selfishness. It is a spiritual responsibility. For too long, society has convinced many women that loving themselves is wrong, that to care for their own well-being is arrogance, or that their worth comes only when they sacrifice endlessly for others. But the truth is, self-love is not about neglecting others. It is about respecting the divinity within yourself. When a woman honors her body, her mind, and her soul, she is not indulging in pride. She is honoring the sacred presence of God that lives inside her. Think about this for a moment. If God created every flower with care, giving it unique colors, fragrance, and beauty, then how much more precious is a human soul? Each woman is a masterpiece of divine design. To not love herself is to deny the Creator's work. To love herself, on the other hand, is to acknowledge that she is valuable, complete, and whole exactly as she is. A woman walking alone begins to see this truth more clearly. Because without the constant noise of people's judgments, she finally sees her own reflection in peace. And when she does, she learns that self-love is not about arrogance. It is about gratitude. Gratitude for the life she has been given. Gratitude for the body that carries her through the world. Gratitude for the soul that connects her to God. In daily life, we often see women pouring endlessly into others. The mother who forgets her own health while caring for her family. The professional who sacrifices her own rest just to meet everyone else's needs. The friend who always gives but rarely receives. While this giving is noble, it becomes dangerous when it empties the heart. You cannot pour from an empty cup. A woman on her silent journey learns this truth the hard way. When she is alone, she realizes that if she doesn't take care of herself, no one else can fully do it for her. If she does not respect herself, others may fail to respect her. If she does not love herself, she will search endlessly for others to fill that void. But when she begins to love herself from within, something magical happens. She no longer seeks constant validation. She no longer begs for acceptance. She becomes a source of love that flows naturally, not just for herself, but for everyone around her. Imagine a woman who has always been told she is not enough, not beautiful enough, not smart enough, not successful enough. These words, repeated over years, can build walls of doubt in her mind. But when she takes time in silence, she begins to dismantle those walls. She looks in the mirror, and instead of focusing on flaws, she begins to see strength. She remembers moments where she stood back up after being broken, moments where she gave love even when she received none, moments where she held on to faith even in darkness. Slowly, she understands, I am not defined by people's opinions. I am defined by the light of God within me. That realization is the seed of true self-love. Self-love is not selfish because it is never about ignoring others. It is about keeping yourself whole so you can give authentically. Think about the oxygen mask on an airplane. They always tell you to put your own mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you are suffocating, you cannot save anyone else. The same is true in life. A woman who nourishes her own soul through prayer, rest, reflection, and self-respect is the one who can lift others without losing herself. Her love becomes balanced, healthy, and strong. Daily life offers countless examples of how self-love transforms a woman's journey. When she respects herself, she no longer allows toxic people to drain her energy. When she values her time, she no longer wastes it on things that don't serve her purpose. When she cares for her health, she shows strength to those around her, inspiring them to do the same. And when she listens to her soul, she finds peace that no material success can provide. This kind of self-love becomes a protective shield, guarding her from negativity and guiding her toward growth. One of the most powerful aspects of self-love is the way it connects her to God. When she loves herself, she is in fact loving the Creator who made her. She recognizes that she is a vessel of divine energy, and therefore treating herself with kindness is an act of worship. Every time she speaks kindly to herself instead of tearing herself down, she is honoring God's work. Every time she forgives herself for mistakes instead of drowning in guilt, she is trusting in God's mercy. Every time she chooses peace over self-doubt, she is choosing faith over fear. People sometimes think self-love is about vanity, focusing only on appearance, possessions, or worldly pride. But the self-love of a woman walking her silent journey is deeper. It is not about how she looks, but how she feels inside. It is not about proving her worth to the world, but about knowing her worth before God. This kind of self-love is humble, gentle, and strong. It does not shout, but it shines. And that shine cannot be dimmed by anyone else's opinion. When a woman learns to love herself, she becomes whole. And when she is whole, she no longer walks with fear of being alone. She no longer clings desperately to people who do not value her. She walks gracefully, knowing that the love within her is enough because it is connected to the eternal love of God. She becomes free from comparison, free from insecurity, free from the chains of external validation. That freedom is the true beauty of self-love. So, on her silent journey, when a woman embraces self-love, she is not turning away from the world. She is turning inward to nurture the light God placed in her. And once that light glows brightly, it not only illuminates her path, but also becomes a source of warmth and inspiration for everyone she meets. Self-love, therefore, is not selfishness, it is sacred responsibility. Through silence, a woman walking her journey begins to uncover one of the most beautiful gifts of life, the art of observation. When the world is constantly noisy, when conversations and distractions never seem to end, it is easy to miss the little miracles that surround us. But when she chooses to slow down, when she embraces moments of stillness, she begins to see things others overlook. Silence sharpens her senses, deepens her awareness, and transforms ordinary sights into extraordinary lessons. While others rush through life, she pauses. And in that pause, the universe whispers secrets only a still heart can hear. Think of how often people live in a hurry. The alarm rings, the phone starts buzzing, deadlines chase them, and the day becomes a blur of tasks. By the time the night arrives, exhaustion takes over, and no one remembers the simple beauty of the sunrise they missed, or the laughter of a child they ignored, or the fragrance of flowers they walked past without noticing. But a woman walking alone in silence learns not to live this way. She slows down her steps, not because she has less to do, but because she values the richness of every moment. She looks at the rising sun and doesn't just see light, she sees hope. She hears the song of birds and doesn't just hear sound, she hears joy. She feels the rhythm of her own breath and doesn't just notice air moving, she notices the sacred reminder that life itself is a gift. This kind of observation is not ordinary, it is spiritual. It transforms her perspective. While others complain about rain ruining their plans, she sees the rain as God's way of washing the earth clean, refreshing the soil and nourishing life. While others see the night sky as nothing more than darkness, she sees it as a vast canvas sprinkled with stars, each one a message of eternity, each one reminding her that no matter how dark life feels, there is always light shining somewhere. Her silence allows her to see not just the surface of life, but the deeper meaning beneath it. Daily life gives us countless opportunities to practice this art. Take, for example, a cup of tea. Most people drink it quickly, without thought, rushing to the next task. But a woman who has learned observation sips it slowly, feeling the warmth in her hands, inhaling the aroma, tasting each sip with gratitude. That simple act becomes meditation. Or think of walking through a park. Others may scroll on their phones, distracted, but she notices the shapes of leaves, the sound of footsteps on the path, the gentle touch of the breeze on her face. All of these small details become reminders that life is alive, vibrant, and filled with messages from the divine. Observation also teaches her lessons about herself. In silence, she observes her own thoughts more clearly. She notices when fear arises, when joy blossoms, when doubts creep in, and when peace settles. By observing instead of reacting, she grows wiser. For example, if someone criticizes her, instead of reacting in anger, she observes the emotions rising within. She asks herself, why did those words hurt me? What part of me is still fragile? This observation allows her to respond thoughtfully, rather than impulsively. It transforms conflict into understanding and weakness into strength. The art of observation makes her compassionate as well. Because she sees details others miss, she notices when someone is hiding pain behind a smile. She notices when a child is being ignored in a crowd. She notices when someone is silently struggling. Her eyes, trained by silence, are not distracted by noise. They look deeper, beyond appearances, into the reality of people's hearts. This makes her more empathetic, more kind, and more connected to humanity. One of the most profound things about observation is that it reveals God in everything. While the world waits for miracles in grand events, she sees miracles in everyday moments. A seed breaking through the soil becomes a symbol of resilience. The steady flow of rivers becomes a symbol of patience. The changing of seasons becomes a reminder that nothing in life is permanent and everything has its time. These are not small details, they are divine messages written in the language of nature.